Good afternoon, everybody. It's 2:30 in the afternoon on July 6, 2019. We've just arrived in Rapid City, South Dakota on a flight from Pittsburgh, where we connected through Denver, and we're getting ready to start our adventure. And looking this direction are the Black Hills of South Dakota, and Rapid City's off to the right here in the picture, just a ways. And we have a rental car here in front, right here, and Bonnie's in there. We've got Utah plates, and off we go. Well, we've really had a nice drive coming out of Rapid City here, and we're heading over towards Mount Rushmore area, but not necessarily to see Rushmore. And it's beautiful country. Yes, we'll see Rushmore later. And come across what I don't want. What? I didn't want to catch those folks. It's a nice highway here, and we're really trying to get in the area of Hill City, which is where the bed and breakfast is that we're staying. It's Coyote Blues Bed and Breakfast. And we're in the area of Rockerville, South Dakota right now. Alright, we're near Hill City, South Dakota. We just pulled over. This is a really busy place. Motorcycle enthusiasts driving around. Mount Rushmore's nearby. We're headed to the bed and breakfast to check in. Scenic hillsides, traffic and cars all over the place. It's amazing. There's somebody back here selling all sorts of motorcycle stuff here to these guys that are out on motorcycle tours. And over here in the far part of the parking lot, we have Candyland. I have no idea what that's all about, but we're not going to go there. Well, we're just about to Coyote Blues Bed and Breakfast. They live on Horseman's Ranch Road, and over here there's a little welcome sign, and sort of a gravel road off the main road. But we're excited to check in, get freshened up, and go out to dinner. Alrighty, we're on our way back the lane here to the bed and breakfast. And it's a gravel road. Kind of cool. They've gotten a little bit of rain and water runoff on the road here. And off we go. Oh. I wasn't trying to howl like a coyote. My stomach's growling. Hungry. Quite the scenic driveway these guys have. I hope they've got some decent snow plows for winter. Here we go. We're headed towards Mount Rushmore now, and the road's kind of scenic here. We've had a long downhill, and it's cooled off a little bit. I think it's about 71, but pretty comfortable weather actually. We had a nice dinner on an outdoor deck looking over some, overlooking rather, some grassy areas. And some fish tacos, and Bonnie had some beef tips and salad. It was luscious. Okay, it's 6:15 on July 6, 2019. We're on our way up to Mount Rushmore. It's a little bit towards evening time, but we were out for a ride after dinner and thought we'd check out Mount Rushmore because it wasn't that far away. Talk to you later. Alright, here we are on the road up towards Mount Rushmore. Partway up, we can already see the sculpture. Here's a turnout on the highway where you get a profile view of George Washington on Mount Rushmore. And it's amazing the magnitude of this. Good morning. It's, what time is it here? Anyways.
10 after 8.
8 o'clock, roughly, 10 after 8 on July 7th. And we're on our way back up to Mount Rushmore because we have more time now and we're going to check in. And we just came across this profile view again that we took a picture of last night. And it actually just picks up George Washington's profile here of the sculpture, but it's just amazing the magnitude of this.
Yeah. Everything.
Yeah.
I have no idea where this is filming.
Morning. Which parking area is closest for the shortest walk? 6. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Okay, turn that off. Here we are at the entrance to Mount Rushmore National Memorial. And it looks like it's made of granite to fit in with the scenery here. And you can see a little bit of the sculpture right behind. We'll try to get a better view rather than having it cut off. We're in the visitor center. Here's the sculpture of the sculptor who actually designed and worked on Mount Rushmore. He was known as the chief to his work crew. Alright, this is the Avenue of Flags, which has flags of, I see, different states and nations here. And this is Sunday morning actually, but you can see that the crowds are starting to build quite a bit. The Pennsylvania flag here, and each of these pillars has a dedication or a notation as to when the state or territory was admitted to the Union, if you will. Alright, this is an amphitheater that sits facing the sculpture of Mount Rushmore, and they hold events down here. I saw a picture in the visitor center that there was a concert, like an orchestra sitting down there. We are going to take a trail around the perimeter of this. It's at the base of the sculpture, but if we look up, you can see what people see when they sit right here. We have a gorgeous day. It feels like it's about 70 degrees right now. Blue skies, as you can see. Nice South Dakota day. Okay, we're on the Presidential Trail, and this is the one that goes around towards the base of the sculpture and where all the talus slope is. And there's Washington again sticking out, Lincoln. Pretty cool. Here's a little cave, so to speak, between some rocks, but it brings you out at the end where you get a view practically straight up at Washington here. And it's an amazing angle and gorgeous. Here we are a little further along the trail, and you get a little bit different angle each time. It is a very interesting trail because of the different perspectives you get. And once again, another view, a little different angle here. We continue on, some different angles again. Further along the Presidential Trail, once again another view. Beautiful. Okay, we followed the Presidential Trail down to about the bottommost point in the trail, the lowest point, and the sculpture studio is right here, but there's also this little exhibit of the way they produced energy to remove over 450,000 tons of rock, and 90% of the rock was removed with dynamite and the rest with drilling and jackhammers. Getting a lot of reflection here. There goes Bonnie.
That if he's going to carve the mountain, he is going to put on that mountain 3 of our most important and influential.
All right, we're in the sculptor's studio. We just heard a presentation by Park Ranger. I would have recorded it, but there was quite a bit of echo in here. But there's it's sort of the template that they use to start or to relate to the project, and then looking through the window of the studio, there's the finished product, which was finished in October of 1941. All right, we're getting ready to leave the sculptor's studio. And if we pan around here, we've got another view. And as the sun rises higher in the sky, you obviously get little different shadowing and pictures here of the sculpture. Just amazing. Can't describe it really adequately either through these pictures or being here in person looking at it is phenomenal. We're on Route 16A in South Dakota, going away from Keystone towards Custer State Park, and there's the variety of different tunnels that are carved out of in fact, there's Mount Rushmore all the way in the background there, but carved out of these mountains and everything. And the highway is just really terrific. It's a windy, sort of narrow highway, but it's just beautiful scenery. And some of it a little reminiscent of driving through Tioga Road in Yosemite towards Crane Flats. But we're going to continue on our way, and we're actually headed towards Wind Cave National Park today. Once again, absolutely gorgeous day, perfect temperatures, sort of mid-70s, very comfortable, mild level of humidity. But and we're at around 10:30, 11 o'clock, I think, time-wise. Beginning of Custer State Park in South Dakota. We're still on our way to Wind Cave National Park, but these scenic overlooks keep showing up, and it's just Beautiful, beautiful scenery here. Very fortunate to have such a beautiful day with blue skies. Just some real faint haze in distances and such, but well, we're right at Wind Cave National Park at the entrance to get a picture at the sign, and when you know it, here's a prairie dog out here scolding us. And we've been told by the reading on the brochure that they're sort of not frightened by cars, but humans sort of disturb them. So if you get closer to them, sometimes they run back down in their burrow. Okay, we're right at the beginning of Wind Cave National Park here, and we've just passed a bison also in the last mile or two, and just beautiful country out here. Open, wide grazing area for these animals. More of this prairie area. Just beautiful terrain around here. Here's the rental car we have. We've been told it's the smallest SUV made. It's a Hyundai. Alright, we're just inside Wind Cave National Park. Here's one of the recommended trails. And this actually is paved for a ways to go back there, and then I think the trailhead's there, and it goes up to the top of this ridge, and there's a fire tower up there. And there's a bazillion prairie dogs here also. Here's one giving Bonnie the stare. Look at that bugger. And there's some back here. Up in here. Yeah,
down in there.
He's giving her the evil eye.
You're okay. It's okay.
Okay. Alrighty, we're partway up the Rankin Ridge Trail, and actually, in Wind Cave National Park, and we're panting a little bit because we're at what, 7,000 feet or so, and we're not used to this elevation. It's also looks like an access road up to the tower, so it's very smooth. It's got some steepness to it, but it's a very smooth trail, so easy walking. And if we stop for a minute, the sounds of the wilderness are wonderful. It's just crickets chirping, some birds, and some wind blowing through the ponderosa pines. Okay, a little bit of an update. Still on the Rankin Ridge Trail to the fire tower, but we're only at 5,000 feet, and we're panting as though we're at 7,000 feet. So it's there's a couple of these clear-cut areas, or whatever these burned out areas are, that are throughout the park, and really along this whole area, even north between here and Rapid City. Custer State Park has a lot of that, so I'm guessing some of it's burnout. There was one place that did look like it was clear cut, though. A little disturbing to see. Some amazing vistas along this trail. There's a gentle breeze blowing right now too, which makes it really comfortable, even though the sun's pretty intense with the blue sky and the clarity of the sky. The breeze is making it feel very nice, and it still feels like it's about 76 degrees or so. Right.
Are we okay?
Further along the Rankin Ridge Trail, here's the fire tower coming into view up here, and that's our destination. Supposedly you can get up towards the top edge of it, but not necessarily into the tower. on we go. All right, we've reached the top of Rankin Ridge where the fire tower is. We just had a brief chat with one of the rangers that's coming up here today and filled us in on some information. And there's Bonnie right at the base. All right, now we're going to do as much of a pan from the top of this ridge here, Rankin Ridge. Just spoke with the ranger again a few times. He filled us in on more information about the park. There's an area right over here that's a notch in the mountain range, or in the ridge. And it's called Buffalo Gap, and it's where the Native Americans drove buffalo through, bison if you will. And down in this area somewhere is a drop-off where there is a cliff that they would do a buffalo jump and harvest buffalo or bison for food, meat, clothing, and all of the things they were able to make from the bison. Beautiful, beautiful area. All right, we've arrived at the visitor center. We're going to go in and have a look around here. It's a kind of a neat looking building here. Sort of looks like what you envision some sort of a rich ranch owner. Okay, it's about 4:30 in the afternoon of Sunday, July 7th. We're on our way from Rapid City to the Badlands National Park, and we're on Interstate 90. And for the first time ever, I'm on a road that the speed limit is 80 miles an hour. So Bonnie and I are flying along here. And I'm actually doing about 78 right now. I'm having trouble keeping up with some people, but it really moves you along and cranks the miles off quickly. But the terrain is gradually flattened out quite a bit. And we're leaving the Black Hills of South Dakota behind us, and off we go. So we'll be getting in hopefully in about a half an hour or so, and we have to check into our motel. Actually, it's the lodge at the park, really, at Badlands National Park. So we'll fill you in and talk to you later. Bye. Well, here we are in Badlands Park entrance, July 7th at 5:10, and we're just about ready to go through the ranger station down here, but it's definitely flattened out a bit, but there are some different formations over here towards the west, right here, and we'll be heading in to check into the lodge. All right, 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock at the Ben Rifle Visitor Center at Badlands National Park, as you can see from the signage. And it's Sunday evening, July 7th. We just finished dinner at the lodge, if you will. And the lodge is actually made up of a bunch of cabins, and we'll actually show you what those look like. But we are excited about that because we're staying for 2 nights, so you kind of get a chance to settle down and stay in the same spot and sleep in the same bed 2 nights in a row. And this evening we're going to try to attend an astronomy and stargazing program at the amphitheater. And we'll swing around here just to show you some of these other formations. It's just crazy stuff. Good morning, everybody. It's 6:30 on Monday, July 8th at Cedar Pass Lodge in Badlands National Park in South Dakota. And we've got a beautiful sunrise and blue sky morning. We've just had breakfast actually in our cabin, because sometimes we have to take a little break from all the restaurant food. It kind of gets to you, but after day of it. And sun's at my back here, but just gorgeous scenery. There's nobody up and about. This is sort of a combination of the lodge registration desk area, as well as a gift shop and a small restaurant in there, which we had a fun meal last night because the one dish that Bonnie ordered had it's called a Indian bread taco, and it's sort of like an open, it kind of looks like a fat pizza, but it has taco seasonings and portions to the ingredients in the dish. So it was a lot of fun. Down this way last night was where the amphitheater is, and we saw an astronomy presentation. They had about 8, maybe 10 telescopes out where we were able to look at the moon, Jupiter, Saturn. The one telescope was so powerful we saw the rings on Saturn, and it was really nice clear sky night for stargazing. Now we'll go over and see what the cabins look like. So this is actually behind the lodge area, and the cabins are lined up in 2 rows. There's a one-way lane that goes down in front of the road that I'm walking on right now, and there are, well, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Looks like maybe 10 or 12 cabins down one side and 10 or 12 down the opposite side, which is over here on the other side of the lane, which is one way coming back out. So it's sort of like a big U-shaped loop. And our cabin happens to be the very first one right here, which is convenient to going over to the restaurant, the lodge, in the morning, 7 o'clock till 9. This little coffee house building here serves coffee and I think tea, just to jumpstart you for the morning. Alright, so here's our cabin that we're in. Come up a little closer. Number 126 here. Don't know if that really is showing. Let's go inside and see what everything kind of looks like in here.
Hey, hi, come on in.
Oh, great. Thank you.
How are you?
Just fine. Look at how nice this is in here. Yes. Cabin. These were just refurbished and brought up to be sort of green cabins. They have on-demand water heat and economical or energy conservation-minded air conditioning units. And it's this eating area and refridge and a microwave, such, and then a little open closet area here, and then we go in, get a light on here, and bathroom, his and hers sink, very nice, and then a little separate area here with a door that puts you into a shower toilet area, and very nice shower, which felt terrific last night. So we were pretty tired from traveling from over at Mount Rushmore and Wind Cave National Park. But all in all, it was a fun day. We're looking forward today. We have an 8:30 ranger walk talk that we're going to do. It's supposed to be on geology, so we're going to meet at a trailhead for that. And off we go. Okay, it's 7:45 in the morning here on the 8th, and here is the head of the window trail we're going to take, the trailhead that is, and it's a rather short trail, but we want to start off this morning doing some exploring, so off we go. Okay, for starters on this trail, here's 2 bighorn sheep bedded down just in this grassy area. And hopefully they'll stay put and not charge Bonnie while we're walking by, but let's continue. Very cool. Now this trail is rather interesting here. because it's got a boardwalk. So this is a cushy trip out here. So here we are at the end of the boardwalk of the trail. Let's see what the vista is like. Oh, magnificent. Let's see, get a view up this way. And once again, the camera doesn't probably do justice to getting a feel of the depth or the distances involved here, but this is really, really interesting terrain. You can kind of see why they call it the Badlands, because just nasty looking territory to try to negotiate.
I mean, it's like mud.
Yeah. Yeah, different layers. And they said the main geologic forces of this were erosion and deposition and erosion. Hopefully Bonnie doesn't see this sign. Okay, it's 10:30 on July 8th, Monday, and we're about ready to take off on the Notch Trail. It's 1.5 miles round trip. They're estimating to take about 1.5 to 2 hours, and they're labeling it as moderate to strenuous. So here we go, we're ready to begin. And off we go. Great. Interesting terrain. They have little stakes along the way here marking the trail with white blazes on them.
Now which way? This one?
Over to the right here, see the white blaze on.
Oh.
You're just taking it in stride. We have a nice breeze here blowing. Having said that, where's the white blaze?
What?
Where's the white blaze? We keep going straight up here, I guess. And what was the temperature we were getting? 82 degrees or so?
When we left?
Yeah, yeah,
Something like that.
yeah. And it's rising. The sun's higher in the sky, and we're starting to feel the heat coming on here, but the breeze is helping quite a bit. Somebody earlier complained about the humidity, but for us, compared to the humidity back home in Pittsburgh, this is kind of mild. Yeah. Yeah.
Why am I going up and down?
All right.
No, I wouldn't remotely grant the, no, none of them.
Here's the, I think I'm on it. Can't see it. There's the log ladder we just came up. And it gets a little steep at the top here, so it's more challenging on that ladder, but it's a good thing they have them, because the stones on this this whole area of the Badlands it's very crumbly. It falls apart easily, and they says it's some of the fastest erosion that exists. Yeah, yeah.
It is.
Yeah. Well, on the Notch Trail, we've officially reached the Notch. And the view you get here is amazing. Here's Bonnie checking it all out. Right between those two small ridges there is the campground where the cabin here, I'm sorry, is the part of the park headquarters with facilities for the rangers. Right through. There are the cabins where we're staying. They're just barely visible down in there. And then if we do the rest,
Thank y'all.
well, we're in Wall, South Dakota at Wall Drug. This place looks like it's got everything. Hi, it's 3:20 on July 8th, Monday, and we just got off an exit ramp of I-90 eastbound from Wall, and there is a series of Minuteman missile sites that are designated as facilities that you can check out here. So we've gotten off this ramp to look at this, so we're gonna see what it looks like and get down the road and take a look. Okay, we just got off pavement, went over a cattle guard, and we're on gravel road. So these missile sites apparently are tucked away out here in some rather hidden areas. Well, we're on our way back out from the Minuteman missile site simply because they close the parking lot at 3 o'clock every day, and it's after 3 o'clock, so we're not going to get a chance to see that, but off we go. All right, we're at the visitor center for the Minuteman Missile National Historic Site, so we'll see if we can get in here and see something. So off we go. It's in the mid-80s. Okay, we're at 6:15 on July 8th, Monday, and we're going to take an after-dinner stroll to the cliff, on the Cliff Shelf Nature Trail. It appears that most of it's boardwalk, but would be a nice easy stroll for the evening after dinner. A little bit of a storm threatening behind us, but we'll keep an eye on it. We're hearing some rumbling in the distance. More later. I think this part of the trail is where they mentioned it goes through like some juniper pine and such, and it's really quite green. We're getting some thunder behind us, and we may have to bail out on this hike, but we'll see what we can do here. Just keep moving. Okay, coming out of the junipers and continuing up to more elevation. Panting a little bit here because there's a lot of steps, and we just finished dinner, so I'm a little bit on the full side and maybe not the best time to hike or go for a walk. Now this area up here I believe is the Notch. It's where we hiked earlier today and looked from the opposite direction down across this area and over to the White River Valley in the distance there. I believe where you see this green in the center of the screen, that's the river valley over there. And this is some of the trail area here where we were. And comes across down in there and works its way up the hillside here, and you can see some railing perhaps in the center of the screen there, just barely visible through there. And it went around up this way up to the top. Still some juniper. Beautiful view. So here's the actual Notch Trail vista. I got a much better view now that I'm farther away and down the trail that I'm walking, but it was a real fun hike there. The one we had to climb up the log ladder, and actually, as you can see, there was still quite a bit of elevation gain beyond that, but there was no trail to go up, for example, to the ridge on the left. Well, it's about 7:30 on Monday, July 8th, 2019, and we're at the cabin in Badlands National Park, and a storm's coming in, and really very, very ominous looking here. Heavy clouds and thunder going on, and it's actually started to rain. And people in the area said this has been one of the wettest summers they've had in a long time. They really feel that the drought they've had for several years, maybe 5 years or more, has been broken, but this is really quite an ominous looking storm here. It's like the line of a front coming through. You can see the brightness and the dark cloud cutting off the or creating a dividing line for the storm front. And the car rental we have here actually has dimples all over from a hailstorm that caused some damage to it when it was rented out previously to someone. This is the back side of the registration, hotel registration, gift shop and restaurants off to the left side there. But this is quite a storm trying to whip up here. Well, good morning. It's July 9th at about 10 o'clock in the morning. We've driven westward from Badlands National Park and gone past Rapid City, South Dakota, and we're heading up to North Dakota, but this is Sturgis, South Dakota, so we thought we'd just stop and take a peek here. And there goes one of the famous motorcycles. Over here it says Indian Motorcycle Sturgis, and if we look around here, this place is supposedly the #1 Indian dealer in the nation. There go more motorcycles. Okay, we are on Main Street in Sturgis, and we're just going to do a little cruise here. Bonnie wanted to rent a motorcycle to make it more official, but we decided just to stay in the rental car here. There's probably going to be some bug spatter on the windshield show up on the video, but we'll see what gives here. Just do another block or two. This doesn't look like it's real long. Just cruise on down here. Do you have a beer up in the air with this? No. We're coming back to that. There's a place here as well. All right, we'll be coming back, so don't. Yeah, this looks like the main drag where they show a lot of people cruising when it's biker week or whatever at Sturgis, but pretty cool. All right, can continue straight ahead here for another block or so, and then it looks like it kind of tapers off.
Have to do it again.
Here's Bonnie on Main Street in downtown Sturgis, South Dakota, hanging out with the bikers. We're going to continue touring a little bit. Okay, we're on Main Street in downtown Sturgis, South Dakota. We're going to cruise the drag here and just check everything out a little bit. The actual biker week at Sturgis is the first or second week in August coming up, so we're only in the second week of July, so we'd have to hang around for a month to be able to cruise the strip here with a motorcycle.
I don't know whether it turned it off or on. It's recording. Okay, got it.
And you've got your entire voice in there with all of that. Okay, now here we go down the main street. And all these different shops, tattoos, bars, restaurants. Denim shops. Here's an old 1886 bank building on the left there. There's like motorcycle logos and different play on the Harley Davidson black and orange colors that you can see everywhere. People are just sort of cruising, sightseeing here, but we're not quite sure what's happening.
Look, Weimer's Diner and Donuts.
Wow. We're going to have to go in and see that.
I'm going to turn it off.
Yep. Here we are on the main street in downtown Sturgis, South Dakota, and they've got Weimer's Diner and Donuts here. Okay, it's noon on July 9th, and we're in Belle Fourche, South Dakota. We're going to go to the geographical center of the United States. So we read the plaque, and apparently the center is supposed to be 20 miles north of Belle Fourche, but we're in Belle Fourche, and this is designated right here as the geographical center of the nation. So we're somewhat confused, but we're going to go down and stand there. Here we are entering North Dakota. It's 2 o'clock on July 9th, and we've been driving across some rather flat country, but it's been pretty neat. And then we've been passing in the last 10 miles or so a lot of wells that have been drilled, and I'm not quite sure whether they're sort of the Western's equivalent of like Marcellus shale that we have back in the eastern or whatnot. Whether they're natural gas, not sure what the well is. And we're on our way now into North Dakota, up to Teddy Roosevelt National Park, and Medora, North Dakota is where we'll be staying, just outside the park, like a quarter mile away. Okay, good evening. It's 6:10 on July 9th, Tuesday. We're at Theodore Roosevelt National Park in Medora, North Dakota. The weather's changed a bit, got a little bit cooler and really quite strong of a breeze blowing. They had some rain come through, but it's really quite a strong wind. When we open the car door, it kind of catches it and blows it open. This building right here is a North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame, and I'm not sure we're going to get a chance to get in there and visit, but that's what that's all about right there. Kind of interesting. And you can also see there's some ridges up here in the background around the town of Medora, and it's kind of a quaint town. Sort of has a cowboy feel to it. A lot of buildings with wooden fronts like that, and like a boardwalk sidewalk in front of it. So we'll continue our adventure and see where we end up next. Bye. We're up at the musical theater up above Medora, and this is a show that you can see if you want to in the evening. It's an outdoor amphitheater, and they put on a musical performance. The pictures I saw, it's like cowboys and cowgirls dressed up, and they dance and sing and so on. And it's a show that you can see after a pitchfork steak fondue dinner if you wish. You can link the two together, but quite a picturesque view from this position here of the amphitheater looking across. It's just still very windy tonight, and the temperatures dropped quite a bit, so it's cool enough. We're going to call it a day here pretty soon. There goes a Burlington Northern Santa Fe engine pulling some freight cars. This railroad track runs parallel to the Little Missouri River for a while here in Medora, North Dakota, and these look like all tanker cars here, like petroleum or something. They don't have any engine horns sounded when they come through the town here, because a number of these communities that we've seen in South Dakota and North Dakota have signage that there are ordinances against sound pollution or sound levels being too high. So we're gonna wait till this train passes and then head back to town.
Good morning to you too.
Yeah.
Chelsea, that's the one that you can see at the visitor center, and it was originally about 7 miles north of town. So then that winter, his wife Alice and his mom died on the same day, on Valentine's Day in 1884. His mom died of typhoid. So in the spring, he came back out here, and his cattle had done pretty well over the winter. He decided that living 7 miles north of town was too busy. He didn't want to be that close to people. So he set up a ranch 36 miles downriver called the Elkhorn Ranch. And he lived out there for, I think he was there, you know, he'd come in the summers, but then he was never here for a winter. Anyway, in the summer of 18, he had left, and he had lost in today's dollars about $1.3 million on the venture. He was not a very good guy with money. His sisters always had to clean up the messes that he made. So, but then he remarried. He married Edith Caro, who was actually a really good childhood sweetheart of his. And then they went on to have more children. He became president in 1901 because he was vice president at the time, and William McKinley was assassinated, and so he became president. And one of the first things he did was ask Congress to set up a bison reserve in Yellowstone National Park. I think being out here and seeing the bison, it really affected him. The loss. And I think being out here, seeing the overgrazing and the way that people were kind of wasting resources really put that idea of conservation for future generations in his mind. And I just think it's really neat to think that, you know, we're standing here because people like him had the foresight to think about us, that we could enjoy this land.
Did he have connections with John Muir?
He did. He and John Muir were friends. Yeah. And in fact, I've kind of read that, you know, John Muir.
All right, one more panorama view here from this butte. It's just amazing here. There's bison over in the distance there. The river's flowing quite fast. There was some rain late yesterday and last night. And this is quite an expanse. Bison visible in different directions. This road is part of the loop road that goes around the park, and the far end of the loop road is closed because they had a real bad slump occur. And this is the parking lot down here where we started the tour. And the ranger talk was excellent, and she's with the group down here with Bonnie and the rest of the folks. Okay, it's 10 o'clock on July 10th, Wednesday. We're still in Theodore Roosevelt National Park. We're driving the loop road, and there are bison right here along the way. So we're just gonna get a little bit of right on the road. I don't know about you, big fella there. Jeez, oh man, look at these. There's a younger one. Yeah, they'll, you know, if they want to, they're coming through it no matter what. Yeah. But did you get a picture?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple pictures.
Bonnie's doing some still pictures on the. Here, check this one right here.
Wait, I don't think this baby.
And down the road they go.
I love those things. I love them.
And then there's some way up on the hill up there on the ridge. So, all right, we're on the Boycourt Trail right now, which is just a short connecting trail off the Loop Drive, and it's Boicourt, and it'll just give us some more insight as to how the park is here, how it looks. There's evidence of some burn that they've done here as well. You can see the trees. They said last year they did a prescribed burn in the area. The ranger that was talking to us earlier on our drive on the loop trail here said that the juniper, there's actually three types of juniper here. One's a lower juniper that sort of hugs the ground and helps hold against erosion. And the other junipers are a little bit taller, and some of these look like trees. But she said for orientation, the juniper tends to grow mainly on the north side of any of these ridges, and that would help orient whether you're headed north or south. I'm seeing some horseshoe hoof marks here in the trail, and you know, you can see where there was some burn here. These junipers are showing the evidence of the burn. And then some of this sage there's several different types of that as well, and it gives a little bit of a bluish tinge to it. And quite a drop off here. Once again, I don't think there's the smoke. There's a black band down here in the layers, and this is lignite coal that's visible. And hopefully got the sun at the wrong angle for me here, but just over there's some smoke coming up because they said lightning will cause that coal to start burning, and also when they do prescribed burns, sometimes that sets off the lignite coal, and the layer goes on naturally underneath the other layers, but it'll burn for decades. And there is a little wisp of smoke coming up over there. We're almost to the far end of the Boycourt Trail, and as you can see, we're walking a ridge line here. Drops off down this way quite a bit, and then it drops off down this way, so it's a little bit of a ridge, or it's getting narrow enough it's almost knife edge, but maybe this is Theodore Roosevelt National Park's version of Angel's Landing in Zion Canyon. And little bit of a drop off over here. There's some trails down through the prairie area. Is that a horse over there, Bonnie?
Where?
There are feral horses here. Straight out,
Oh, I see it. Wait,
it looks thinner than bison.
yeah.
I just can't resist doing a panorama shot here. This is just incredible. So I'm going to back up because I'm a few feet below the peak of this. So, end of Boycourt Trail again. The trailhead we started at is just about the direction I'm recording right now, pretty much in the center of the screen, and we're just going to pan around here slowly. Let's see what we can come up with. Bonnie's trying to sneak around behind me here to stay out of the picture.
Without falling.
She's, yes, yeah, it's a bit of an overlook here, that's for sure. And we saw a wild horse out here in the middle. I don't know if it'll show up. I'll try to zoom in on it. What they say, they had 150 of them or so, and they have to call them. Right there is wild horse, you know. So we'll back off again here and continue our panoramic view of the area. The lower Paddington Trail is down in this area somewhere, which is one of the hiking trails they had noted on the park map. And really incredible. Here's some of that smoke again from the lignite coal seam that caught on fire when they did the prescribed burn. It just sort of comes up in wisps and then you lose it. And we'll come around and we're almost 360 degrees with it back to our trailhead view. Right up there. Oh, there we go. Excellent. We are looking across lower Paddington Trail again. Somewhere down there, as I said, there's enough terrain changes. I'm not sure which it is. This is the trail we just finished, the Boycourt Trail, and it's just over here in that direction. Yes, yes. Here we are at Theodore Roosevelt National Park again. We're outside the visitor center, and this is Maltese Cross Cabin, which is, I believe, the first residence that Theodore Roosevelt had here in the area.
Where did he go to the bathroom?
Probably, this is the cabin. You see with our back door? The outhouse would be over there by where the fence was. There's going to be a dug pit, you know what, how it looks like. Okay.
We're in the visitor center, and it's July 10th. And there's some, as usual, very interesting, informative displays. These are Theodore Roosevelt's 1876 Winchester 50-95 rifles. They look nasty. Look heavy also. Some of the brands that Theodore Roosevelt had on his ranch. 1 o'clock in the afternoon on July 10th, and we're still at Theodore Roosevelt National Park, South Unit, and we're going to walk out to see what the view is on the Skyline Vista Trail. Alright, we're at Skyline Vista at the end of the trail now, and just as a point of reference, the park's southern boundary of the southern unit is bordered by Interstate 94 that heads east-west. So we're looking westward generally right now, and there goes a tractor trailer with 3 trailers on it. And speed limit on those areas is usually about 80 miles an hour. 75 to 80 is common for miles per hour. And then a train just went through. There's train tracks at the base of that butte over there. And all the way in the distance over here is Medora, where we're staying. Just try to zoom in on that. Right in there. All right. We're on the Loop Road in Theodore Roosevelt National Park, and we're headed down to Cottonwood Campground because there's a short trail there that's supposed to go down to the river. But this was a nice sign for information about the terrain here and the vegetation, and to see what it actually looks like. If we go over here, here's some of the sage immediately in front of us and some of the grasses. And the ranger this morning was saying in the prairie dog towns where the prairie dogs chew the grass down, then new shoots of grass grow up, and they're actually nutrition rich when they're shorter, and the bison and the elk particularly like those prairie dog town areas for eating the grass because of the richness of the short grasses as they're growing up from being chewed down by the prairie dogs. And the prairie dogs like to keep the grasses low because they're able to spot predators, and then they warn each other by chirping so that they all sort of dive to safety down in their dens. Alright, it's 2:20 in the afternoon on July 10th, Wednesday, and in Theodore Roosevelt National Park. And the trail again, Bonnie, is...
Well, it just says it's the CCC trail.
Alright, we're actually at Peaceful Valley Ranch, which is along the Little Missouri River. And after being at higher elevations in the park for a number of our trips here, and for the ranger talk this morning, we figured we'd come down as low as we could get by the river to see how that looks and get an impression of it. They have these plants out here that have these huge, if you'll put your hand by that, Bonnie, so I have scale, these huge puffballs that look like dandelions back home in western Pennsylvania, but they're monstrous out here. They're really interesting. But so anyway, we're on this trail. We were just talking, the name of the ranger there?
Clayton.
Clayton. We were just talking with Clayton over at the horse barn, and he's actually a backcountry ranger, and he maintains the horses here in the park. That him being a backcountry ranger, he uses those horses to go out to ride and check fences in certain areas, as well as checking trail conditions. So he does a lot of horseback riding, but he also tends the stables. As a side note, he lived down here for 17 years because his parents had the concession in the park for trail rides. So he lived here and helped work with the horses all the way up till he was 17 years old, and then his parents decided to close down the concession because they had just felt they had worked long enough. So he has quite a bit of an experience and knowledge of this area. This we're getting closer and closer to the river now. I can start to see it here. And we're walking a little bit heavy occasionally just to alert any potential rattlesnake in the area that were coming, because they've warned us about those, but also cautioned us to make as much noise as possible. So let's just see what we can do to get down to the river here. All right, we made it all the way down to the river edge, and it's as the ranger said earlier, this is definitely a muddy river, and a lot of it's due to the silt that comes down and is washed into the river from rain. It's a very fine mud type and clay type soil in many of these layers on the buttes, and as water washes it down, it's mainly carrying the silt, and it just has it very, very muddy. So it's the Little Missouri River in Theodore Roosevelt National Park, South Unit. Gorgeous. Well, that music was in a little community area right in downtown Medora, and here we are behind a horse-drawn carriage in Medora. Looks like they're giving a tour of the town. What did I say? North Carolina? Yeah, North Dakota? Did I say North Carolina?
No, I meant to say North Dakota. Yeah, Medora, not North Dakota. A lot of people make
Good morning. It's 8 o'clock on July 11th, Thursday. We're just driving south from North Dakota, where we were at Theodore Roosevelt National Park, and we're headed back towards Rapid City and then on to see Devil's Tower. But moving right along, got a real pretty day, and we've seen quite a number of pronghorn sheep this morning, or pronghorn antelope, I mean. Take that back, correction. And rather flat or gently rolling countryside. On our way. Oh, here's our vehicle right there. Bonnie taking a picture of me. I'm taking a picture of her. Good morning. It's 10 o'clock on Friday, July 12th. We're entering Wyoming, headed towards Devil's Tower National Monument. So we're off to a good start. Once again, sunshine and blue skies. And very spectacular scenery here, so off we go. Okay, it's 10:30 on July 12th. We're still on our way to Devil's Tower. This is a little bit of a distant overlook towards Devil's Tower. We're on Wyoming Route 24, and I'll just get a little swing over here, and you can see it's starting to show up in the distance over here, way over. Well, we're getting closer and closer to the entrance to the park. We're still not quite there. Continue to get these closer views. Devil's Tower. A little bit closer again. Blue skies. Gorgeous fields here. Round bales of hay. And it's just amazing structure here. We're at Devil's Tower Ranger Station here, but also the Visitor Center, and we just finished lunch, and we're going to walk the trail that goes around the base of Devil's Tower. It's I believe 1.3 miles, and we're looking forward to it. There's been some climbers up here today as well. And generally from this side of it, the rangers said that very few people go all the way to the top on this side. It's on other sides where they go to the top. It seems that this side's a little more difficult. I think he said in 20 years he's only seen 3 or 4 people that have gone up this side all the way to the top. And the very top of the Devil's Tower is supposed to be about the size of a football field up there. Okay, we're going to start our trail hike here. The first 200 yards or so, I think, are supposed to be the steepest, and then it's supposed to be gently rolling from here.
Can I be careful? This is very steep downhill, so you go a little slow and don't get in front of people. Okay? Take your time.
Devil's Tower is sacred to Native Americans.
Wyatt, where are you going? I want a picture.
I think that'd be a good deal to do.
Levi, hey Levi, come over here. Look, I'm just gonna use it. How far? Levi. Hey, listen. Ethan and Levi.
Okay, it's about 10 after 1 on July the 12th. We're continue to walk the trail around the base of Devil's Tower, and it's sort of a wooded ponderosa pine area here. They've had a couple of burn areas. I don't know if they were prescribed burns or not, but you could see evidence of that. And it ends up being quite a nice walking trail because it's paved the whole way, so that was a surprise for us. But we're certainly not going to complain. Just another stroll in the park here. Well, here's our answer about some of the fires and the controlled burns, as we suspected. Now this angle actually shows a little bit of the curb that's on one side of the face of Devil's Tower. It has a slightly different curvature than the other side. One side looks almost straight up. This has a gently sloped curve till it goes real vertical. All right, we're just about to the end of the trail here. That's around the base of Devil's Tower, and it's one of the best views of the boulder field that we've seen at the bottom here. And you can sort of get a little bit of the scale. There's Bonnie. Well, we're leaving Devil's Tower National Monument at 3:15, and we just had this pull-off right here, and we decided to look back in the direction where we were, and it's this wide open spaces here. Just incredible stuff. Sorry about the jerkiness there. I tend to goof that up when I